Good morning and welcome once again to the Wednesday morning meditation. Today we are in for a treat because the gospel reading out of the daily office lectionary for year 2, proper 15, on today's date, the 19th of August, is the feeding of the 5,000, which is a reading that is marvelously visual. So once again, we're going to allow that text to lead us into relationship with Jesus. So as I read this gospel story to you, I would ask that you just allow whatever thoughts, whatever feelings, whatever comes through your creative imagination, perhaps a memory, to just allow it to come to the surface for you. Jesus went to the other side of the Sea of Galilee. A large crowd kept following him because they saw the signs that he was doing for the sick. Jesus went up the mountain and sat down there with his disciples. When he looked up and saw a large crowd coming towards him, he asked, "Where are we to buy bread for these people to eat?" Andrew said to him, "There is a boy here who has 5 barley loaves and 2 fish. But there are so many people." Jesus said, "Make the people sit down." Now there was a great deal of grass in the place, so they sat down, about 5,000 in all. Then Jesus took the loaves, and when he had given thanks, he distributed them to those who were seated, so also the fish, as much as they wanted. When they gathered what was left from the fragments of the 5 barley loaves, they filled 12 baskets. So let's focus in on one word from this reading: bread. Loaves of bread were what satisfied the hunger of the gathered 5,000 people in what has been called the watershed gospel story, the feeding of the multitudes. A little bit of a foreshadowing of Holy Eucharist. So bread means a lot to us in our liturgical tradition. The body of Christ, the bread of heaven. This is what we are served at Holy Eucharist. So let's think about bread. It is made of simple, ordinary ingredients: water, yeast, salt, flour. Each of these ingredients has a job to do, and without that ingredient doing its job, the bread is not going to form. And then, so to these ingredients, we add interaction, the mixing and the kneading, the measuring, all of those things that we are doing when we are making bread to interact with those elements. And there's also an environment. The right amount of heat needs to be in the environment to help the bread to come together as a loaf. So these simple ingredients, along with the interaction in the environment, become transformed into a new creation. So Teilhard was a scientist theologian, and he was fascinated by how certain elements are combined to produce a new thing. And he liked talking about bread, saying that our Eucharistic bread symbolizes what creation succeeds in producing. And that which creation succeeds in producing in Holy Eucharist becomes spiritual nourishment for us. So Teilhard was a Jesuit, and so therefore he knew about how we can be helped in our Christian journey when we examine those ingredients involved, when we experience moments of grace. So with a nod to Teilhard, I want to ask you this. Identify for yourself a moment in the past day or several days when you knew without any doubt at all that God's grace, God's love was all around you. Find a particular moment when that was your experience in life. I'm going to do it too, so here we go. All right, I have found mine. I hope you have found yours. So let's hold that, each of us, our own particular moment of grace. Now, let's think about that moment, and in terms of the ingredients of that moment. What were the living ingredients that were a part of this experience of grace? What were your thoughts? What were your feelings? What was interaction? What was the interaction between you and God, you and another human being, you and creation? And what interaction was at play in that moment? And that particular moment of grace for you came within a particular environment. So what was in your environment? What was around you? Where were you? Identify all of that for yourself and remember. And enjoy this, that all of you, your thoughts, your feelings, the interactions, the environment, all of this was a part of a successful moment of God's creation for you, with you, and in you. Now, I'm going to ask Nathan to fade out my face so that you can center on the flickering candle. And as you center on the flickering candle, see yourself in your interior, walking down a road. Notice what kind of road or path is revealed to you, whether it is gravel, sandy, paved, or a rocky path in the woods. And involve all of your senses in that moment as you are walking, and listen for your own footsteps as you walk forward. And notice the environment. What is the temperature of the air, the landscape, the colors? Is there some sort of aroma in the air? Just spend a moment taking it all in. And now right in front of you, there is a rise upward in the landscape. And as you approach, you see people gathered there. A man is standing on a clearing on the mountainside, which is rather grassy. People are gathered around the man, listening intently. Notice the people, their clothing, their skin coloring. Maybe they are social distancing. So look at the familiar stranger standing there and see if you can get close enough to hear him speaking. And as you get closer, you can see that he's lifting up a portion of a loaf of bread. And he moves to offer it to the people around him. Just watch for a moment as the people receive a small portion and their reaction as they consume it. And now you feel moved to get closer because you want to take part in this, whatever is happening in this mysterious moment. And so you get close enough to hold out your own hands. And the man is now standing before you, and you look up to see his eyes hold your own gaze. And now you realize this is Jesus, the King of Love. And as he says to you, this is the body of Christ, the bread of heaven. As you receive it, feel the love of Christ being poured into you as you taste the bread. And now as you look again, Jesus has moved to the next person. But even though he's moved on, you are left with the impression and the feeling of that love soaking through you. The King of Love has blessed you, has given you his love. Enjoy that blessing of love to nourish you, to strengthen you. Enjoy the taste of the bread. Enjoy the love that is here for you now. Let yourself just be with the flickering candle in silence for a moment. Be with the King of Love. And then wait for the beautiful sounds to follow.
The King of Love, my shepherd is, whose goodness faileth never. I nothing lack if I am his, and he is mine forever. Where streams of living water flow, my ransomed soul he leadeth, and where the verdant pastures grow, with boots celestial feedeth.
Perverse and foolish oft I strayed, and yet in love he sought me, and on his shoulder gently laid, and home rejoicing brought me. In death's dark veil I fear no ill, with thee, dear Lord, beside me. Thy rod and staff my comfort still, thy cross before to guide me. Thou spreadst a table in my sight, thy unto grace bestoweth, and oh what transport of delight from thy pure chalice floweth, and so